Did you ever watch a movie and just think to yourself, nothing gets better than this? As a kid watching films, I felt this in my soul. Tekkonkinkreet was one of those films as a kid that really defined my artistry, my mindset, and my search for more. This movie shows you love, compassion, betrayal, brotherhood, what it means to be balanced and centered with the evils and good in this world. And you start to realize that we can't survive with one or the other. We need both to make ourselves who we are. This is Tekkonkinkreet, the power of balance. Tekkonkinkreet, a mispronunciation of a Japanese word for reinforced concrete, is an anime film by Studio 4C, directed by Michael Arias. It was adapted from a manga called Black and White. The film is also scored by Plaid, an English electric music duo played by Andy Turner and Ed Handley. One of the central themes of this film is the duality of the orphan brothers. White needs Black to help protect them, and Black needs the upbeat White to remind him of his humanity. The plot centers around two delinquent brothers, Black and White. Black is more of a hot-headed tough guy, whereas his brother, White, is innocent and childish in nature. They both live in a city known as Treasure Town, where they built a gang called the Cats. Other gangs come and try to claim the decaying town, but to no avail. The Yakuza step in, and the leader, Suzuki, or the Rat, wants to make some changes to the city. All the while this power struggle is going on, two detectives, Detective Sawada and Detective Fujimaro, try to keep the city safe from the Yakuza and any other local gangs within the city. You will notice throughout the film that this power struggle is one of the main areas of discussion. Who owns Treasure Town? Whose town is it? Is it my town or is it your town? You'll see this theme run throughout. And it's this theme that will drive Treasure Town into its ultimate destruction in the end. The Yakuza, putting pressure on the local gangs, sends Black out on his own to go put a stop to this Yakuza crisis happening in his town. Now I want to emphasize, Black 100% believes that this is his town. Black is met face to face with Kimura, one of the local head Yakuza members in the group. Black wins the fight, leaving Kimura scarred and injured, having to rest and not be able to work with the Yakuza for a little bit. Because the Yakuza could not stop the local gangs from intruding on their business endeavors, the main boss of the construction planning has to hire better help. After Black did what he had to, he goes back to look for White. Now White isn't stupid. He knows exactly what Black did. He knew where he went and what he did. White calls Black out on him hiding things from him. You can also see in these moments the connection between Black and White. You can see what Black is by himself, and you can see what he is when he's with White. Kimura, in a drunken binger, is met by the new advisor of the company. The advisor tells him to come and seek him out. Now, what is it that the advisor wants to do to change Treasure Town? He wants to turn it into a theme park, a place where kids and family alike can come and have a great time. But in doing so, will destroy the third quarter, which the Rat grew up in. The Rat disagrees with these plans, but is shunned away. His ideas would not bring more profit or power to the agency. After the meeting, Suzuki goes off to find Kimura and see how he's doing. Kimura tells Suzuki that his girlfriend is pregnant. Suzuki tells him fatherhood would suit him well, and he asks him if old dogs can be taught new tricks. By this point, Suzuki is pretty much done with the way of the world, how it's changing, how he doesn't fit in. He is the past, and the future doesn't need him anymore. Kimura, still feeling defeated after the attack from Black, calls up the advisor and takes him up on his advice to see him. The advisor, now controlling the Yakuza and taking out a majority of the gangs in Treasure Town, now has to deal with the cats, and in doing so, hires some unworldly people, these assassins, with one job in mind is to exterminate the cats, with power beyond human comprehension. Black and White make their way back to their house, only to find one of the assassins waiting for them. We see at this moment the reason why Black is so important to White, and his protection over him. We also see how capable White can be on his own, and how he himself struggles with this darker side of himself. After which the two boys go into hiding, knowing that they're being stalked by these killers. White, still not coherent after the attack that they just had, is asking and demanding for his hats. Black goes off to look for him in hopes that White stays. White, regaining consciousness, leaves the spot that Black left him last. On White's journey back to their house, he is confronted by another one of the assassins that tries to kill him. Luckily, Detective Fujimura and Detective Sawada saw White being attacked by the assassin. They both come to his aid and the assassin retreats. White runs off in search of Black to reunite with him. Black, still waiting at the car for White to show up, sees him injured and in pain, dying slowly from blood loss. White is then taken to the hospital where he has a full recovery. The two detectives take into their own hands White's protection because they believe that the streets are way too dangerous for him. Black, being unfazed by this, lets them take him. This is where we actually see the separation between the two. We see the growth and decline of both of them. We are at a turning point in this film now where things become more darker and sinister, where hope is lost and darkness is the only thing that thrives. Now I'd like to start this segment off with something that defines all balance in life, and that is yin and yang. Yin and yang represents duality, or the idea that two opposite characteristics can actually exist in harmony and complement each other. Yin is the symbol of earth, femaleness, darkness, passivity, and absorption. It is present in even numbers, in valleys and streams. It is represented by the tiger, the color orange, and a broken line. Yang is conceived of as heaven, maleness, light, activity, and penetration. It is present in odd numbers, in mountains, the color azure, and is represented by the dragon and an unbroken line. At this point in the film, Black has lost the only counterbalance he has in his life. He is now an unhinged and what some would say possessed creature of the night, taking out Yakuza members outside the Kitty Palace. White stays in police custody, seemingly unhinged by the situation that he finds himself in. White explains to Detective Sawada that him and Black are both missing screws. They're both missing parts that he has all the pieces to, and that he just needs to find Black to repair him. White theoretically is the pieces that Black needs to stay alive. He is the parts that he doesn't have or can't hold on to. The rat pays a visit to Black, two relics of the city that no longer are needed. They both have a conversation, and Black tells Suzuki that he has death written on his face. The advisor, thinking that Kimura isn't fully in on the proposition that he has placed before him, orders him to take out Suzuki. Hesitant at first, he then finally complies. calling Suzuki out for a drink and to tell him something. Suzuki and Kimura talk for a little while until they go for a walk. Suzuki, being a part of this world for so long, already knows what's about to happen. In a heart-wrenching moment, Kimura then takes Suzuki's life. Black, then stumbling upon Suzuki in his final moments, gives him one last cigarette. Now, like White and Black, Suzuki and Kimura had pretty much the same bond, positives and negatives. Suzuki being from the past and a harder portion of the Yakuza, Kimura now entering the Yakuza in a different time, as well as balancing a child, becoming a father. He is completely different from Suzuki. Suzuki takes him under his wing as a father figure to teach him the rights and wrongs, how to deal in business, as well as how to become a father, the father that he never had. Another thing to make note of is the fact that Suzuki and the advisor are both fighting for the attention of Kimura. They both act as fathers and teaching figures in his life. Now there's one more pair I want to touch bases on, the two detectives, Fujimura and Sawada. Now it's the struggle between old cop and new cop. One has a bleak look of the whole entire world and Treasure Town as a whole, where another one is unfazed by everything and is met with optimism and wants to actually help and change the city that he lives in. Both need each other in the same aspects. One needs to be real about how they approach everything, where another has to give hope. Because of this, they work well together. And who knows what they would do if they were on their own, or how they would approach any of these situations. Now, I wanted to play those two scenes to set the mood for what's happening right now. Black is in a place that's unreachable by most people. Suzuki, the feared leader of the Yakuza, has been assassinated. The advisor, who has just built the Kitty Palace and is now in full operation. White, now feeling the pressure of not having Black with him at all times, is now weighing heavy on him. As you can see, the balance of things are off. We are reaching a breaking point. Black being the only issue left in Treasure Town, the advisor equips the two assassins with everything they'll need to kill him. White, at this point, has entered a zone that I can only describe as channeling. He knows something is about to happen, and he describes it as the Minotaur. The same thing that the Dustin boys talked about with Black before. Black, now in a delusional state, takes what he thinks is White towards the Kitty Palace. So it's at this point in the film where I have to not be able to trust the animators or storytellers in this film. I will leave it up to you to decide on what's reality and what's not, but there are two things that could be happening all at once, and that is if the Minotaur is real or fake. Is the Minotaur physically Black, just being represented as a different thing or entity? Or is the Minotaur a physical being that embodies all pain, suffering, and evil in the world? I will show you what the movie will show you, and you can make your decision in the end. Black gains entrance into the Kitty Palace. He is then confronted by the two assassins, ready to kill him. Now, this scene you see before you is the most saddest scene in the whole film.
Hey guys, nice outfits. I'm so happy you came. Everything's gonna be okay now. My buddy came home. I'll introduce you. His name is White.
Words could never truly describe seeing that scene for the first time, so instead of trying to explain it, I just wanted you to see it as is. Black, being hunted now at this point, running from the two assassins, is then saved at the last second by the Minotaur. By what we can perceive and see as a Minotaur-like figure with a mask. The Minotaur dispatches both would-be assassins and then confronts Black, telling him everything will be fine. As the Minotaur gets closer and closer to Black, White, still at the police station, is starting to lose full control of what is happening in his head and in reality. Whatever you may call it, if he can feel the pain of Black, or if he's connected to him somehow and, like I said before, channeling his feelings and thoughts, then he is trying to protect him and keep him away from this pure darkness. We have now entered the final stage. We are now in what I can only call as the Dark Realm. It is where the Minotaur lies and has full control over Black, and White does his best to disrupt his influence over Black. The Minotaur shows him his true powers and what he could actually do if he went full dark. Black is the definition of evil. He can go as far as he wants to, but because White isn't there, there's nothing to tell him otherwise. White is there to balance him, to keep him from turning into whatever that thing is. White, represented as the white dove, tries to break through all the black crows, until finally he makes his way through and is face to face with Black as a white dove. He asks him simply what he sees, and then this.
What do you see over there? I came back. Be happy. Be happy.
For the briefest of moments that White has Black, he sends him the thoughts and good moments that he's had with him thus far. And though it's not all of them, it's a short account that we were there for. White, now confident that he has Black's attention and has gained him on his side, goes back to coloring. Black, on the other hand, still in the fight, looking for a way out at this point. He is given a choice, and that is to choose the dark side or the light, and he eventually chooses the light side. The Minotaur, being a part of him always, leaves him with a scar on his hand to remember him by, to make him remember that he isn't that far, that he is right there with him at all times. Days after, White is able to make contact with Black and figure out a meeting spot for them to talk. Go to the spot to wait for Black. To the surprise of Detective Fujimura, he shows up. White tries to talk to him, but there's no response. Reaches his hand out, no response. Black then looks at his hand in recollection to what just happened, and then eventually moves forward to embrace White. We eventually end up on a beachside in the summertime. White, being the same person as he always is, a creative, happy individual, and Black, looking at his hand, remembering what had just happened, and the person that lies underneath. No one can know for sure what Black is thinking at this point, what his true powers are, and if they were let off into the world. We are left with the two, as if everything is perfectly fine and normal again. And we can only hope so, for balance has been restored, and as long as White and Black remain allies, that balance will remain.